Hi guys, Southern Tier Prepper here. I hope everybody's having a beautiful Sunday. I know I am. The weather here in the Southern Tier of New York is absolutely beautiful today. I wanted to talk a little bit about power and generators. I watched a video this morning from JJ at Reality Survival, and he talked about how there's talk of um, planned outages to combat climate change and a couple hours a day. I know a lot of that talk is out in California or California. And being in New York, we're never far behind. Our wonderful, sarcasm intended, governor is hell-bent on destroying our rural way of life and taking away wood stoves and gas stoves and any sort of, self-sufficiency we might be able to have, they're trying to get rid of. So when he was talking about this, it got me thinking about how many people that I even know personally that have generators and have had to use them because our grid here is totally terrible. I mean, NYSEG is probably one of the most unreliable power providers in the country. So lots of people have generators. We know how to use them. A lot of people, ourselves included, have, a switch where we can hook up a generator and run our whole house. Now, a lot of people think that if shit hits the fan, they're in a good position because they have a generator and they have a little bit of, gas, and if they have a dual fuel propane stocked up, that they'll just be able to carry on as usual. What they don't think about is that whatever fuel and whatever propane you have on hand might be all that you can get for a while. Out here, we're not on city water or city sewer, thank God, because in a grid down situation, if it's prolonged at all, that's going to present its own problems. So we do have a great well here and septic, but if the power's out, that means we don't have water, whereas people on city water would, at least for a while. But we can always hook up our generator, run our well pump, fill up vessels, and get water. And that's what I wanted to sort of touch on, is that if you have a generator and you have fuel stocked up, you're in a good place. But you need to consider that you're only going to be able to run that generator, 1 to 2 hours a day, maybe a little bit more depending on what you've got and how long the situation is. But always conserve your generator fuel. Don't go all out trying to, keep a sense of everything's fine, nothing's happening. We can continue watching our TVs and, working our Wi-Fi and keeping all of the lights on and running our appliances in that kind of situation. Our plan is that if there's a grid down situation and we don't know the cause or when it's going to be fixed, the generator gets turned on 1 to 2 hours a day max. During that time, we will be filling up all of our water vessels, filling up the bathtubs with washing and flushing water, filling up every, cistern, stock tank, whatever, topping everything off, and everybody in the family will get their shower done. We may even go to alternate days for showers just to be able to keep things sort of, efficient and not running it all the time. You may also need to stagger the hours during which you keep your generator going. If somebody gets used to hearing something in your neighborhood at 3 o'clock every day, they're going to figure out where it is and what it is, and they're going to want that. It's important to try to be as quiet as possible. If you can build like an insulated generator sort of cabinet that has good ventilation, because obviously a combustion engine does need oxygen and ventilation. But if you can try to soundproof that and protect it as much as possible, the better off you're going to be, and the less likely it is that somebody's going to, hear where it's coming from and try to take that from you. There's also the issue of being able to water your gardens and your plants. If you can rig up some sort of rain catchment system or rain barrels, do it. Do it now before things get really bad. And it's not a bad idea anyway for conserving water. I know a lot of areas are drought stricken. Luckily, we aren't this year, but there's been years where water's been hard to come by. So any means that you have to, store water, even if it's just for your garden or your pets, or if you have any livestock, and then run your generator for a couple hours a day. If you have a well, get those tubs full. You'll still be able to flush your toilets if you do that. Fill up all your pots and pans and drink dispensers, like those big iced tea jugs. Do what you need to do in that 1 to 2 hours. Get the whole family involved, and you should be okay. We're getting closer and closer to a total, takeover of a very tyrannical government, and it's going state by state, and it's spreading, and they're using climate change as the excuse for everything without any consideration to how it's going to affect people's lives. Out here in the southern tier, it's not like New York City, it's not like Albany. Our power goes out all the time. They're trying to force everybody into all electric appliances and heat. When that happens, if we don't have our wood stoves and our propane gas stoves and our coal stoves even, we have backups on backups. I mean, here on the homestead, we have our fuel oil furnace, and we also have a coal cook stove, and we also have a couple of wood stoves, and we also have a couple of propane wall units. Heat in the winter here is a very big issue, and you need to make sure that you have alternative light and heat sources for a total grid down situation. And it might not be this year that New York follows suit with this, planned blackout thing, but you never know what's going to happen. You don't know if we're going to get hit with a storm that's going to take power out for days or weeks. You don't know if there's going to be some sort of cyber attack on our grid. You don't know if somebody's going to go shoot up a substation. You just don't know. So it's best to be ready. It's best to know what your plan is for making your generator fuels last as long as possible. And also during that, couple hours a day, it might be enough to keep your freezers frozen if you're not opening them all the time. Fridges might be a little more iffy. I don't know if I would trust milk after it's been in a fridge that's only been on for a couple hours, but you know your appliances, you know your situation, and you know what's best for your family. But it's really important to keep in mind how you can conserve what might be a finite resource should all this go down. So sorry for rambling. Originally this was going to be a short, but I just got to thinking of how many people think that just because they have a generator they're going to be good to go. And yeah, you'll be better off, but if you don't conserve that generator time and conserve that fuel, it's not going to be all fun and games for very long. It's best to just bite the bullet, go into austerity mode, and keep things going as long as you can. And also during that 1 to 2 hours, you can also pop a DVD in for the kids, or charge up all the devices. If there is still an internet or cell service, our kids have data plans on their devices. We have a special needs son who's very dependent on his tablet, and then our kids being homeschooled, do need to use their devices quite a bit. Are we ready to go back to pencil and paper? Of course. But as long as we can use those devices and access those materials, it's just going to be easier for us. So the idea is to keep life a little easier for as long as possible. So again, sorry for rambling. I have a tendency to do that, but I hope this got you thinking a little bit about your plan for when the grid goes down. Even if it's just for a couple hours here and there, or if it's for, days and weeks at a time, you need to be ready. So keep your prep on, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.